So this was a quiz which was related to electrolysis, weight, acid alkalis, and salt topic. So electrical energy or a voltage of a two simple cells is measured. One of the cell consists of a zinc and magnesium, another one consists of magnesium and copper. And we know the one which is having the cell in which we are using two metals which are having a greater difference in the reactivity, that will produce the highest voltage. So we have the reactivity series. Potassium is there, sodium is there, calcium is there, magnesium is there, aluminum, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver, gold, and platinum. So the first cell we are using zinc and magnesium. So we have zinc and magnesium, that's the first cell. And the second one we are using magnesium and copper. So magnesium and copper cell will produce more voltage, or cell 2 will produce more voltage because we are using two metals. They have greater difference in their reactivity as compared to a magnesium. So magnesium and zinc is having a smaller difference in reactivity as compared to magnesium and copper. So this cell 2 will produce high voltage than cell 1. So when we check the options, the question is which statements are, which options are correct. So statement 1, the voltage of a cell 1 is greater than cell 2. That is wrong. Why statement 1 is wrong? Because here we are using zinc and magnesium, so they have a smaller difference in reactivity as compared to magnesium and copper, which they have larger difference. So cell 2 will produce a high volts as compared to cell 1, this will produce low voltage. So statement 1 is wrong. All the statements are correct. So it means we can check statement 2, 3, and 4, but we can cancel out the wrong options here. So when all statements are correct, no, only statement 1 and 3 are correct, that is also wrong, because according to the first option, like statement 1, when we check statement 1, so statement 1 is wrong. So if statement 1 is wrong, anything which explain statement 1, that is totally wrong. Or so all statements are correct, that is wrong, because statement 1 is not correct. And only statement 1 and 3 are correct, that's also wrong, because statement 1 is not correct. Now, when we check the second option, zinc is more reactive than copper. So in the reactivity, zinc is more reactive than copper, so that's true. Magnesium oxidize in both cells. Oxidize means lose electrons, so more reactive metal will lose electron easily, and the electron will travel from magnesium to zinc in this cell, and here the electron will travel from magnesium to copper. So both cases, the magnesium, the more reactive metal can lose electron easily, or it will be oxidized. So that is also correct. So statement 3 is correct. So magnesium is oxidized in both cells. That's also correct. And magnesium atom loses electron to form magnesium ion, because that's the definition of oxidation. What is the definition of oxidation? Oxidation means loss of electron. So magnesium is losing electron and turn into an ion, or magnesium is oxidized. So statement 3 and 4 are actually like statement 4 is also correct, and that explains statement 3. That's why option D is the right answer. Is it clear, this question? So both these cells, yes, the magnesium atoms turn into magnesium ion and they lose electron. The electron transfer to the zinc and the copper surface. So magnesium is losing an electron. That's why we say magnesium is oxidized, or magnesium atom loses electrons to form magnesium ions. In question 2, dilute aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed by using a carbon electrode. What is the product at anode? So for these type of question, the best thing is you just sketch the electrolytic cell. Positive and negative. So the positive terminal is called an anode. The negative terminal is called cathode. The movement of electron is out from negative terminal of the battery towards cathode, and it is away from anode towards the positive terminal. So most of the positive charges here. What we have dilute aqueous sodium chloride. So what are the ions present? It contains sodium ion, it contains chloride ion, it contains hydrogen ion, and it contains hydroxide ion. For positive ion, we check the reactivity. Always the less reactive will move. So for hydrogen is less reactive, so hydrogen will move towards cathode. So hydrogen ions, they will take two electrons and it will form a hydrogen gas. So there will be bubbles will be there. Then for negative, we check the amount. So when you check dilute, dilute means it contains more water. So this solution contains more OH ion and few chloride ions. So whenever OH ions are moving there, so the equation for OH ions, when 4 OH ions are there, they will lose 4 electron and it will form oxygen gas and water molecule. O2 plus 2H2. So oxygen gas is there. So whenever OH ion will move, there will be an oxygen gas. That's why option C is the right answer. Because they're asking for product at anode. So at anode, there's oxygen. If the same question, the product at cathode, in that case, the hydrogen will be the answer. Is it clear? Discussion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In question 3, the volume of a gas given off in a chemical reaction is measured over a time. The results are shown. At which time the rate of the reaction is greatest. So how you can identify the rate of a reaction is greatest? You have to check the slope. Like at 0, when we draw a tangent, it will be like this. So at 0, the tangent will be like this. It will be horizontal. At 4 seconds, when we draw a tangent at 4 seconds, it will be like this. At 6 seconds and at 10 seconds. So which point we have a steeper slope? So when you check 0, horizontal, it is almost horizontal is there. Then this one is 4, then 6, and the last one is 10. So when you check the slope, which point it will have a steeper slope. So when it is at 6, it will have a much steeper slope than any other part. That's why the rate is greatest at 6 seconds. So you just have to check the gradient at which point it is steeper. That point it will be maximum, like maximum rate, because the slope or the gradient represent the rate of a chemical reaction. So which point it's having a maximum slope or a gradient, that point the rate will be maximum. Then in question 4, a student prepared magnesium sulfate by adding magnesium to sulfuric acid. So we have a magnesium is there and it is added to sulfuric acid. So if a metal is added to an acid or magnesium plus sulfuric acid, what will be the product? Magnesium plus sulfuric acid. What are the products? Which salt is produced? Magnesium is reacted with sulfuric acid. What is the name of the salt?
Magnesium sulfate.
Yeah, magnesium sulfate. And what else will be the product?
Hydrogen.
So magnesium sulfate will be there. Plus there will be a hydrogen gas. So these are the products when this reaction happen or occur. Now write a chemical equation. So they are not, this is a word equation. This is a word equation like magnesium plus sulfuric acid will give us magnesium sulfate plus hydrogen will be there. So for symbolic equation, so magnesium is a metal. So how we write? We write Mg. Sulfuric acid formula is H2SO4. It will give magnesium sulfate. Magnesium sulfate is a compound, so you have to use a periodic table to work out the formula of magnesium sulfate. So when you check magnesium, magnesium belongs to group 2, so it is +2, and sulfate SO4 is having a valency of -2. When two have the same valency, we just simplify and cross multiply. So the formula for magnesium sulfate will be MgSO4 plus hydrogen. Hydrogen is a non-metal, so how it will exist as a molecule, so it will be H2. After writing a symbolic, look, one thing, when you write a symbolic equation, you don't have to see whether it is balanced or no from the first. First, you try to complete with the correct symbols. The second part is a balancing. You start with oxygen, followed by hydrogen, and then other element. When we check oxygen, there are 4 oxygen, 4 here and 4 oxygen is balanced, hydrogen is balanced, magnesium and sulfur, all of them are balanced. So this equation is balanced. And usually, whenever you write a symbolic equation or a chemical equation, if you have to balance, then the marks won't be 1, it will be 2 marks. So this also indicate, because it was 1 mark, so this shows that it does not need any balancing. There is no mark for balancing, as you don't have to. So usually equations which need a balancing is of 2 marks. 1 mark is for writing a correct product, reactant or product, and the second mark is for balancing. Describe 2 observations which shows that the reaction has finished. How we know that reaction will finish? So how we identify? That's good. So there will be no more bubbles or a solid left behind. Because hydrogen is a gas given off, so no more bubbles or phase effervescence or no solid dissolve or react. That's how we can identify that we added, like the reaction is almost completed. Then in part C, the excess of a magnesium is removed by filtration. State the journal name given to a solid separated from a solution by filtration. So what we call the solid which is left behind in filtration, like if when we are carrying out this filtration, the solid will be left behind here and the solution will pass through, that is called filtrate. And what we call this solid which is left behind, that is known as residue. So the name of this solid which is left behind, that is known as the residue. And what passes through a filter paper, that is called a filtrate. So if the question was name a substance which is passing through a filter paper, that will be a filtrate. Then aqueous magnesium sulfate is heated until crystal appear. Like this was excess of a magnesium was there, and the solution was aqueous magnesium sulfate. Suggest the name for a solution in which no more solute can dissolve. So if that's good, Ishan, the no more solute can dissolve. So what we call that? We call that as a saturated solution. So saturated solution is basically a solution which cannot dissolve and any more solute at a specific temperature. Suggest why more crystals of copper sulfate appear on cooling. So when we, like example, when we were heating it until the point of crystallization, and when we cool down, more solids will appear. Like example, when it's at say 50 degrees, few solids were there. But when the temperature reduced to 30 or a room temperature, more solid will appear. What is the reason for that? Because at high temperature, a solution can dissolve more, but at low temperature, solution cannot dissolve more solute. That's why the solid will appear. So we can say that the solubility means like how much solute can dissolve in 1 dm cube. That's called solubility. So we can say the solubility of the solution decrease with temperature. Like at high temperature, it was dissolving more, but when the temperature decrease, it cannot dissolve too much. So you can write in your own words this answer, or you can mention that solubility is decreasing with the temperature. So at low temperature, more solute will appear because it cannot dissolve too much. But at high temperature, small amount of crystals will be there. So this was the pop quiz, which was related to electrolysis, rate, acid, alkali, and salts.